Lance Hall, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thanks for having me, man.
I'm pumped to get to talking to you about this the drone world. You're with Carolina Crosshairs,
Yep.
and it's I saw you at the Dixie Deer Classic, and it was kind of funny. We were just talking off air here. When I walked in, you were standing there. Then Austin walks up. Then Jonah walks up, and I was like, okay, I got to talk to this guy. Because you've been, I'll kind of give a kind of back history. I had an issue last year during bow season, and someone mentioned your name, and I was like, man, like I should have called you. But anyways, that's how we met. So
That's the way it goes sometimes.
yeah. So tell me about yourself, man. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up, and where are you currently at? Where are you living at now?
So Rockingham County boy through and through. Been there my whole life. So I spent 4 years in Columbia, South Carolina, going to college at USC. But other than that, I've always been in Reidsville. Like I said, I'm a Rockingham County boy, still there.
Is that the Gamecocks?
Gamecocks? Yep.
Let's go. Did you graduate from there?
I did.
Nice, dude.
Yep. Yeah, I got the old interview paper, as they say.
What does that mean?
That means you got a major that you don't have a profession in. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
So, no, it was definitely a cool time and cool city.
That's badass. And so you grew up in Rockingham.
Yep.
And so how was like high school? Were you? Let me ask you this: when did you first start hunting?
Oh man, so I'd say I was probably like 10, roughly 9, 10 years old, something like that. So my dad took me, definitely was like kind of picky in the beginning. I definitely didn't want to shoot a doe to get started. To each their own, but kind of started slow. Shot around the house a little bit. My pops put the old 12 gauge on my shoulder at a young age and let that knock me down a little bit. But yeah, so I mean, I'd say I was probably 10 or 11. First time we went deer hunting. Shot a little 3-pointer.
Nice.
I still got it on the wall. It's at my dad's right now. But yeah, so my dad did a little bit of taxidermy growing up too. So I was fortunate. The old first buck, he had enough pride in it that he mounted it for me as small as it was. But it's still your first deer, man. It still matters.
Yeah, that's awesome. You were telling me you just like recently kind of got into doing some turkey hunting. So did you grow up doing any turkey hunting or waterfowl or anything? Or?
So we used to do some duck hunting. Like we didn't do anything locally though. So like we would go to Texas, go goose hunting, Reelfoot Lake, Tennessee. We would do like trips for like birds. Yeah. Pretty much just deer hunting though. And then like once I got to like middle school, high school, man, I was playing sports every single day, 365.
Yeah.
And kind of got away from it for a little bit, picked it back up probably, junior, senior year of high school, just had some time in the summer and, hunted a little bit when I had time. But I played football, so every single day was football practice in the fall. So that's what we did.
That's a whole world there.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, I felt like it was year round for me too,
Oh,
especially when you got into like high school and stuff. It was like, you had season ended, you had like a month, and then boom, you were back in the weight room, or you were training, running, and then summer hit, and you were like in 7-on-7 tournaments, traveling around, or I don't know how y'all do it, but it's similar thing. Yeah, it's like
exact same way.
Yeah, so it kind of. How old are you?
So 33.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I've been out of high school for a bit. I don't even remember what high school was like most of the time, but
wild, dude.
Those are some glory days for sure.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome, dude. And so so what was your plan getting out of high school and going to college? Like, how'd that look? Like, what was your idea of it?
I mean, I was always fairly smart growing up. Like I wasn't, 4.0 or anything, but I was like 3.6, 3.7, like good grades. So my brother actually went to school at USC first. He was still in school when I went down there. And I was like gonna play football in college. So I had some smaller schools like Catawba, Campbell, stuff like that. They were recruiting me for football. And then I decided just like a couple months before, I was like, man, at some point this is gonna end. Like, do I really want to spend the next 4 years like grinding through practice every single day for a dream that's gonna end? Like I'm 5'10", it's gonna end at some point,
Right.
So he ended up, my brother went to school there. I put in, I ended up going to business school there initially. Well, I ended up missing like a week of classes because I got sick. Well, the classes I missed were like business calculus. So I ended up missing like pretty much the whole backbone of the class. Made a D freshman year, gets kicked out of business school. So then all of a sudden I'm like scrambling for a different major. I ended up going to school for like marine biology, which is super strange in North Carolina. But I never really like cared to live at the coast. I kind of want to do like the freshwater fisheries type stuff.
Yeah.
But what they don't tell you is like when you're picking your major, they don't tell you like, hey, dude, there's no jobs out here. There's nothing available. And if there are jobs, you're going to make like 30 grand a year. So
Right.
I get out of college. I've got the degree. We're looking around. I ended up working for a state park for like a year, which was really cool, man. I worked with kids every day, but it really kind of helped me become like a better communicator. And then when I went to, so basically that expired. It was like an annual thing. So the week I quit there, or the week that term like expired, I ended up getting on with Ruger, the firearm company. So I've been there for 10 and a half years, progressed through, started as a sales associate, kind of moved my way up through leadership roles, stuff like that. Now I'm EHS group lead and facility maintenance group lead there.
That's awesome. How do you like that?
Oh, it's good, man. Every day's different. There's always a new challenge.
Yeah.
I'm still very production oriented, which is really good for the business. I'm still very business minded. I always have been. Definitely a numbers guy. So, but it's awesome, man. I've like I said, I've been there a long time. It's a great company, tons of growth potential.
Yeah. Did Remington close down? I heard they closed down.
Yeah. So our plant is actually like probably like a half mile from Remington's headquarters. So,
And where are they out of?
So Remington, they went bankrupt, but at the time they were basically in Madison or Mayodan, was their corporate office, but their plants were in like New York and Arkansas. So they ended up basically going bankrupt, running that business.
What you know why? Was this all during COVID that all this kind of
No,
stuff?
so they ended up, I think it was like a combination of a few things. I'm not like a Remington expert by any means, but they were owned by like a brokerage firm called Freedom Group. And it ended up being like they were into like quality issues. They had like a couple safety bulletins out that were like major like safety issues with like the Remington 700 series and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just the quality, I think, just kind of ran them in the ground. So,
Which is an awesome fucking gun.
oh yeah,
Like,
I love
all
the 700.
around.
Don't get me wrong.
That's like if I had to like suggest any gun,
Yeah.
I'd be like, and like your first time hunter or whatever, Model 700.
oh yeah, like the early 2000 700 versus like the 2015 700s though are like completely different quality.
Yeah, right. Have you seen the comparisons? I've never seen
No, it's just like honestly,
a newer one.
So we actually purchased Marlin, I think it was 3.5 years ago. So Marlin was actually owned by Freedom Group as well. And when Freedom Group went bankrupt, Marlin was one of the companies that were acquired. So Ruger went out and purchased Marlin. Like Remington Ammo was purchased by a different company. And then like the Remington products were also, basically purchased from another company. So they kind of pieced out everything and, broke the entire company up like that.
Is Ruger? What other companies is Ruger own? Are they just their own?
Yeah, so really the only one is like Marlin. So we own Marlin, like the lever guns. But Ruger's been around for 75 years. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're at one point, like I don't know where we're at now. We're definitely probably in the like top 2 or 3, but
For sure.
at one point we were like the first one to ever manufacture 1 million guns.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so at one point we were manufacturing like a couple million guns a year.
Wow. Now, is like, and I don't really know the gun world that well. I've got my favorites and stuff I use for deer hunting and stuff, but where are they getting a lot of their parts from? Is it USA made
So
or is it
everything's
kind
USA made.
That's great.
Yeah, so steel's coming from the USA.
That's
like,
fantastic.
We're all American made. Yeah.
Wow. I wonder if that had anything to do with Remington. Are they all American made or?
I'm not 100% sure.
Don't know.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
I always wonder how maybe there's some possibility of, kind of influence from being out of country when you have, different components coming from.
I know there for a while, like Smith and Wesson, they're major reputable brand as well. But I know for a while they were like kind of outsourcing parts and other stuff. But I mean, who knows? I'm sure everybody manufactures different. But I mean, our stuff comes in like literally just a steel block, and we machine it down, turn it, and mill everything out, and turn a little small 3-inch block into a bolt or bolt handle or whatever it is.
Wow. And so where's the headquarters at? Is it here in North Carolina?
So no, our headquarters is actually in Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have 3 plants, North Carolina, New Hampshire, and Arizona. and then our corporate's based out of Connecticut.
Oh, okay. So, okay. I was going to say that you can probably have. Is this one of the bigger plants or that you guys work with?
Newport's our biggest. We're probably the second biggest. We got roughly 625, 650 employees.
No kidding. And you guys are doing full manufacturing of the weapon.
Full manufacturing, yeah. So we make, anything from LCP pistols, the little micro carry 380s, all of the American, or not all of them, but probably 80% of the American centerfire rifles, which are kind of like the staple in the centerfire rifle market right now. Because the price point's great, quality's great.
Yeah.
Our customer service is top notch. Like, we're as good as it gets. ARs we make, rimfire rifles, all the Marlin lever guns we make. I mean, those things are slick, man. As far as like the quality, it's absolutely top notch.
Well, I guess I'm gonna start buying more Ruger.
There you go. Got to.
Well, it's kind of nice to hear it from firsthand because I mean, you're right there on the forefront of it. I mean, obviously, you're not looking at Smith and Wesson's plant, or you're not in there, but being able to speak from that, and it seems like that's pretty an honest view of the company you work for. It's like
100%.
That's just being American made and kind of where the country's headed to. That's a bonus.
Oh yeah.
And I think there's even tax incentives coming.
Yep.
Even for companies that have everything made here in America, which is nice. I mean, we talk about wanting to provide, more jobs coming into the future and stuff like that. It's like, America produces some of the most smartest people in the world, and again, they do come from other countries and things like that, but that just offers more opportunity for, people to have a job.
Absolutely.
And work for a firearms company. That's pretty cool in itself.
Yeah. No, it's like I said, man, we're an awesome company. We've got great teams, great people. We really have a little bit of everything. So
yeah, that's why. Do they make like gear and stuff too? Like,
so we have like apparel and stuff, but it's like we don't make it. It's all that stuff's kind of outsourced. But
I was gonna say more specific. Did you have like firing ranges and stuff like that? Did you guys test guns on like indoor, outdoor, long range, kind of everything?
Yeah, all that falls kind of under me. So
no kidding. Yeah. Wow, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so we shoot every single gun. Like every gun gets 4 rounds.
Wow.
We don't send it out until it's been shot.
Really? Yep. How, do you guys have your own ammunition or
no?
Who do you guys use?
Yeah, we do all.
You try all kinds of stuff
because we're trying to mimic what the customer's going to see.
Right.
Like you want to see what the customer experiences.
So you would use like a base model, like Federal load, and then you jump up to like a Hornady or something like that, just to kind of see the comparisons.
Yep.
Really?
Different grains, different bullets.
Yeah, because they all shoot differently out of guns. Yeah.
Like when we do a test, man, if we've got a new product, we might shoot 10,000 rounds through 10 guns.
No way.
Like just complete mixed skew ammo. So yeah, it's.
What kind of ammo do you prefer?
So I shoot Hornady Precision Hunter.
Bam.
So I'm the 6.5 PRC guy.
Okay.
I'm kind of on the fence. Like I've definitely
you guys.
I
No,
know,
I'm just kidding.
So I've shot several deer with it, and none of them have gone more than like 10 yards. But it's like if they go more than that, you're gonna struggle to find them because they don't bleed much. But
right.
It's
like the 7 mag that like me and Austin were talking about is like, it's like, dude, I don't understand it because I swear it's either like I'm literally knocking the shit out of a deer with it, or it's like either super too fast and just giving way too much time for the deer to live. I don't know, or it's in no man's land, So it's like I don't know. Like I love my 7 mag. That's kind of what I typically take that out west, because I shoot. It's a Browning Hills Canyon.
Yep.
Great over-the-counter long-range rifle setup. I did quite a bit of research on it. I mean, obviously, I was trying to be cost-efficient, in buying that and then kind of adding parts to it, a Night Force scope and, all that kind of stuff.
That's what I shoot as well.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
Yeah, I got a Night Force as
Night Forces are great, aren't they?
Yeah.
They are so freaking badass.
I had a Swarovski or Swarvo, whatever they're called. I had one of those for a while, and then I was like, man, this is too much to be carrying through the woods. I was like,
right, the price is not right.
I got to scale these things down a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I shoot a 6.5 PRC. I've got an Alamo precision rifle.
Yeah.
They're like custom, kind of like a semi-custom rifle, but You can only hunt with one thing, so the one thing you hunt with should be very good.
I got a buddy who's, we go out. Well, we haven't been did we go last year? Yeah, we went out last year. It was like up towards the mountains. He's part of like a long range club.
Yep.
And I was like, look, dude, like I'm only getting this thing to like 500. I'm not, I'm not as savvy with long range is a whole game, different game, There's
a lot of calculations.
Right, a lot of calculations. So we went out there, and he pulls this gun out, or this rifle, this long range thing, and it's like built to the fucking max. Yeah. Like I don't even know what it was, dude. And he shot it, and it's like 1,200 yards on a dime. Ping, ping, ping. I think it was a 6.5, 6.5, I think. So he's like, look, that gun that you have, he's like, it'll do, it should do 800 to 1,000, like the way you have everything set up on it. And so we got out to like 500, 600, 700. And then I think it was just over 800 with it. And obviously I don't practice enough. So you're not going to see me taking shots like that. Yep. Like 500 when I'm out west, that's probably going to be my top. Yep. So, but anyways, I was pretty super impressed. I was like, holy shit. And I don't have a built bullet. I just found, I went through several rounds to find like what bullet was specific, like what would work for that gun. Right. And it ended up being a 168 Berger for over the counter.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I was like, okay, cool. Cause like, you've hunted out, we'll talk about that. Like, cause you've hunted out west as well. Yeah. And so when you're out west, it's like, bro, 500 yards is not far.
No, it's not.
It's like right there.
It's right across the canyon. Yeah.
It's like your neighbor. You know what I mean? It's like it's crazy. And so like, the concept is like hopefully you can get comfortable out to like 500 yards. Yep. But it's super intimidating. So when I was shooting here, because everything's like 200 yards, maybe 300 max.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Depends on where you're hunting, or 100's like what you're going to get here in North Carolina. It's just so overgrown, or at least where I hunt at.
No, 100%.
And so I was like trying to build up my confidence to go out there to kill. And man, like I did kill a nice 3x3 in Nevada, and it was so cool, man, because I actually got to hunt that thing. You know what I mean? And like shoot it at a long range, set up, had time. He was bedded down. It was just like, so I guess what I'm getting to is like the confidence level of being out west and the rifle that you use is like a big part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where have you hunted out west?
So I went to New Mexico.
Nice, dude.
So me and my dad went for for his 65th birthday.
Sick.
He was like, I got to kill elk. So I was like, all right.
All right, dude.
So we get the trip planned. We ended up going. So it's all a draw. So there's no preference points. Like
that's right.
It's just a complete lottery. So we get in touch with the outfitter out there because we're just. I mean, again, my dad's 65 years old. That's a challenge. It's a challenge for somebody my age, much less somebody 65 years old. So we end up getting in touch with this outfitter out there. They're awesome, man. They're top notch. But we're kind of talking through like what units to draw, what weapon types, and they're like, dude, there's no way you're getting a rifle tag. He's like, it's 1%. I was like, all right, well that makes sense. I was like, what do you recommend? And he's like, muzzleloader. I was like, okay, I'm with it. He was like, we've got these Best of the West muzzleloaders. They're like 10 grand. He's like, but they're easily like 400 or 500 yard muzzleloaders. And I'm sitting here thinking, man, there's no way. You know what I mean? Like, I know like what we have around here is like CVA, stuff like this. Yep. So I was like, all right. So we ended up renting these things. And I want to go to New Mexico because I don't like cold weather. So like, I hate being cold. So it ended up being like super crappy weather the whole week. So every day was 30 plus mile an hour winds. Like the elk were bedded down a lot. The first day we get down in this canyon, and we're probably 4 miles in this canyon, and it's all briars. Like Unit 36 in New Mexico is like, if not the hardest, like one of the hardest terrains there are.
Where's that at?
So it's right outside of, I believe it was Socorro.
So northern New Mexico.
Man, I'll be honest, I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where that is.
So I remember there was this like little town called Cloudcroft. We went there like a day before because like, elevation here is like a couple hundred feet. Down there, you're at 8,000, 9,000. So I'm like worried about the altitude when I go.
Yeah.
So we go out there a couple days early. We drive out because we both have tags. So the draws were like 8%. So we're like, we probably won't draw this year. Maybe we'll draw next year. Well, we ended up drawing this year.
Hell yeah.
So it was like in March, we find out we're going in like August. So like, all right, now we got to get in shape. We got to get used to walking on hills. There's no hills here. Like, let's just get in the best shape we can. That's all we can do. So we start getting in shape. I found some mountain op stuff that like helps with elevation. Took that, we're good to go. I didn't have any elevation sickness, which was awesome. Stayed hydrated, like drank tons of water on the way
Tons of water.
out. Yep. I felt like we stopped every hour through Texas, but so it was like 26 hours out there. We spent the night, a couple of days, got used to the elevation, hiked a little bit. Well, day one we get on this bull, nice bull, like 300 plus. We get down in this canyon, and again, it's blowing like 30, 40 miles an hour. Well, the wind is swirling, and we sit on this bull for like 2.5 hours and could not find him. And the guide's like, man, I have no idea where this thing's at. Well, all of a sudden he noticed there's like one tree limb that's like moving different than the wind. This elk had like laid down in this like tree thicket and was just rubbing his head against the horn. I mean, rubbing his
Against the tree.
Yeah, against the tree. So we're like, all right, we're gonna start stalking back. So we start backtracking. My dad's like getting ready to get on him. All of a sudden the wind swirls in this canyon, pushes our scent right up to him. He immediately stops. Every bit of his vitals is like covered up by like 2 trees. So elk ends up running off, never get a shot at it. I mean, I see him through the scope, like absolute brute. I mean, he's 300, 315 all day long. Well, we end up hiking out. Again, man, terrain was like brutal. So my dad the next day actually took like a rest day. He was like, all right, you go today. I can't go. I'm gonna rest for a day and then we'll go tomorrow. I was like, all right, cool. So me and my guide, we go out and we're like, we're scanning the mountains, and people are like, you hear about binoculars like here's like everybody's got like 8x42s, 10x50s. Like 10x50s isn't getting it done out there.
No.
It's not. So I had like Leopold 10x50s. Like I felt like I had like good binoculars. Man, out there I couldn't see nothing. Like so, we ended up. He's like, I'm gonna go check on this other ridge. So he walks over. We're looking at like, he's like, there's a herd of elk there. There's nothing. There's like a 3x3 or 4x4. So I start scanning, dude, and all of a sudden I see like the back of this one elk, and he just looks like significantly bigger. So about 10 minutes later, the guy comes back, and I'm like, hey, dude, there looks like there's a really big bodied elk up there. And he pulls his binoculars up, spot and scope, and he looks. He's like, dude, there's a 6x6 right there. I was like, all right, well, let's go kill him. And he kind of like starts laughing. I'm like, what's going on? And he was like, well, right now you're about 1,700 yards. So he's like, we probably got about a 2-hour hike to get over there. He was like, but I mean, we could do it. Like, it's no big deal. I was like, well, let's go. Like, we know that's a shooter. Let's get there. Let's close the gap. We hike up through there. Well, there was like a 10% chance of rain. All right. So, I mean, I took way more than I needed, like clothes-wise. I was going to be ready for whatever. So
yeah, absolutely.
We end up getting up on this ridge, and we see these elk running down the hill. Well, it was the rest of that herd of elk. And he's like, man, I have not seen that big elk come through. And I mean, my guide is legit. Like, Hunting Full Magazine, like, he's one of the guides for that.
Who was it?
Austin Atkinson.
Let's go.
Yeah, dude, he's like legit as it gets. So,
that's the best of the best.
Yeah, so he's as legit as it gets. So, like, I got full faith in the guy. Well, he's like, man, I don't see him. So he's like, let's just chill out for a minute. We're on this ridge. It's like, let's just sit for like 30 minutes. We just hiked in like a good hour and a half. So we sit there, kind of grab a snack or whatever. All of a sudden, dude, giant snowstorm comes in. I mean, blowing 40.
Yeah, buddy.
Snowing New Mexico, October. I'm like,
buddy.
This is not what I signed up for.
How sick is it though?
So I got every single
Pumped,
layer.
right?
I got every single layer on. I got my like sicker rain gear, everything. So
yeah, buddy.
All of a sudden it like kind of settles up, and he kind of gets up and starts stretching, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna look around, and then, we're gonna probably move out and go to a different area. Like, all right, that's fine. All of a sudden he stands up and he's like, dude, he's right there. Now he's saying he's right there, but he's still like 500 yards.
Right.
So we hike back up this ridge, and there's like no cover. I mean, we're on like a high spot, but we're basically eye level with this elk across this ridge. So we end up crawling up like the last 100 yards on this rock formation. Well, we spot him. He's 325 yards away. So 40 mile an hour crosswind, and this is like not me being exaggerative. Like, I've got pictures of us like there. So 40 mile an hour crosswind. He's like, all right, third tick over. I can't remember. I think it was like third tick over on the scope. So we get set up, getting ready to pull the trigger, safety's off. all of a sudden, like the scope whites out because it's like nothing but fog. So this happens like 3 times, dude. And like your heart at a 300 or 300 inch elk is like, dude, it's through the roof. Like this is the one shot. Like you just traveled 27 hours. You're here for 5 days. This is your opportunity.
Yeah.
So shooting prone off a rock, something I never do in North Carolina.
Right.
It is something I practice, but it never gets you ready for that moment. But all of a sudden, it finally clears. It's like, dude, I got to pull the trigger like any second. Are you back on him? He's like, yeah, I'm good. Boom. Elk crashes. He's like, dude, he's down. So we ended up, it was like a high lung, like low spawn shot. Man, he immediately crashes.
Wow.
Goes like 200 yards down the hill, which was better for us. We didn't have to hike up this huge ridge. Pack him out, leave probably 80% of them there. We hiked out, took like the cape. He took, I think, like one shoulder and like the back straps maybe he brought, and then the horns and stuff we left there overnight. Because they have other guys that like kind of help pack out. But we were a good 3.5 miles in, dude. That pack out with a 80-pound cape is, I don't care what you do, you're not ready for that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and Western hunting, people don't understand. And like, this is why I have a training facility here, because like I prepare year round for this stuff. Because I go out there. I've been fortunate to go out the last, let's see, 1, 2, 3, the last 3 years in a row. We've been out. I went to 4. Went to Wyoming, did Nevada, and then Colorado twice. So we'll see what happens this year. But that's why I feel like it's super important year-round training for stuff, especially if you're going to hunt out west.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you cannot prepare for really elevation. Yep. I mean, terrain, I'm okay, because if you build up strong legs, strong back, shoulders, things like that, and you're eating right, you know what I mean? Like, it's not that taxing. Yeah. If that makes sense. Of course, we're not old, so we're younger. We have, but as far as the elevation goes, you just can't prepare for that. Now you do adjust a little bit, but then you think you're hiking around here. No. Okay. For, put a 50-pound pack on. Okay. Well, when you get out there and you get to it and you have to gut it and you're 3.5 miles in, and then you got to put another 70 pounds on your back plus all the gear you have, you are not moving very fast.
Yeah. 100%.
And so I've learned year after year after year what I need to take, what I need to bring, and things like that. I've been fortunate enough that I grew up out west, so that's kind of the hunting that I grew up in. Is big mountains, and you get out there and you're like, I mean, we were watching this out 2 years ago down in this canyon. I was like, I ain't fucking going down there, dude.
It's like, how do you get down there?
Well, because like you get down there, you got to come all the way I can get down there, but coming the fuck back up with that
it's
thing,
700 yards down. It's 700 yards downhill, but
all day,
side hilling the whole way, dude. Like,
horrible.
It's a mile and a half down there, brother.
It's tough, man.
And then like everything you're stepping over, like everywhere you step, nothing's flat. Like you're stepping on a rock, you're stepping on a tree, you're stepping through briars. Yep. Even the grass, dude. I remember we walked through this like grassy meadow, and it was like literally walking on bowling balls because all the rain from each side of the mountain had like washed all the soil away. So it's like literally you're just basically walking on these basketballs of grass, hoping you don't break your ankles. So,
right.
But yeah, man, it was definitely a once in a lifetime trip.
So cool, and, right?
Definitely trying to get back at some point.
Yes, yes. We need to connect and see about, I can show you kind of some stuff that I'm working on and things like that. And that's really what it is. If you hunt out west is, connecting with other people who are hunting out west from here. Because, dude, if you're born and raised here in North Carolina and you go out there for the first time, like I took my good buddy Steve and my hunting partner out there with me for the first time, blew his mind. Yeah. Because it was, bro, I mean, it was, it's different. We've been out there twice now, and both times, man, have been like, he got elevation sickness, cramped up, like, because,
once you get it, it ain't going away.
Oh, my God, because, like, when we were pounding water, I mean, we left here, I put the Polaris on the back of my Dodge, and we drove from here all the way to Colorado to hunt, and we thought we were hydrating enough. I've hydrated pretty good, but I was still, we were at, I think around 9,000 feet.
That's what we were at. I think we were like 8,500.
Yeah.
And then certain spots were like 11,000, but that's, you're not at the highest point. So
you're rough. It's rough. Dude, when you get past 8,000, it don't matter. From 8 to 12, you're like, fuck.
And then like for us, man, so like my dad ended up killing like a 4x5 on day 4. Like literally opening morning of day 4, we close the truck doors, and all of a sudden you just hear bugles going off.
Oh,
like
that's badass. You guys were in the right in the thick of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the highest elk population by unit in New Mexico.
Kidding.
I mean,
36, you said?
yeah, you don't have like the trophy like 370, 380 inch bulls, but like my bull was a very good bull in that unit. But I mean, dude, I saw literally they had a picture of a 380 inch elk while we were there. I mean, it was like a 7x6, and he's just an absolute monster.
Yeah.
They never could close the gap on him enough.
Yeah.
I mean, he was at like 700 yards with a muzzleloader, and you just can't.
I still have not killed an elk. I've been 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And they're so, like, it's crazy how they disappear.
Yeah.
These massive animals
They're
fucking can disappear
Yeah.
in the middle of nothing. And you're like, what? We were literally watching them for probably 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this is where we're going to be. Nothing.
I remember him showing
ghosts.
me like the opening morning. He was like, "There's like 4 right there, dude." I looked at it for like 10 minutes. I never could find them. I was like, "How are these things hiding from me?"
Isn't
it's
it
all
crazy?
about like your equipment. Like
Literally.
if you're not going,
We have
out there
spotting
with-
scopes.
Yeah,
I don't mess with,
yeah.
you know what I mean? I've got a nice set of binos that I use when I go out there with some Vortex high end, whatever.
The Razor UHDs.
Yes, that's what I have.
Absolutely.
And so those are great. And I actually use them more than the spotting scope just because, I mean, well, where we were at, it depends on if I'm hunting elk or mule deer, but both are extremely tough without a spotting scope because there's stuff you cannot, you would never see, looking out that far. And it's crazy, dude, how distance is so small there, but it's so far. Like you said, 500 yards, and you're like, fuck. Like, it looks close, but it's so far away.
Yeah, I remember like day 4, man, my dad said like that morning, the airport had 72 mile an hour wind gust, which was like 4 miles from where we were hunting. So, I mean, it was just like, that was like the only time of the week we didn't start out on top. So we ended up starting in the bottom of this ridge, and like I said, like opening, literally we were looking at our clocks waiting for daylight. There's a herd of 100 in front of him, and, he ended up dialing up a perfect shot, and, we trolled him a little bit. Telling him, I don't know if you hit him or not, man. He took off. I mean, he's sitting there dead as a doornail, dude, like straight double lung, all the way through. But
well, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So
for your dad going out there and doing that, because it's tough on you.
Oh,
man.
it's rigid, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it's
how
straight up and down.
addicting is it? Because now you're
awesome.
like, dude, it's the most beautiful, most awesome thing to be up in these mountains. Did you guys see any other wildlife? Bears, cougars, any other
So
stuff?
we did not. We saw like a couple like clean like skeletons and stuff like 100 yards from where he killed his elk.
Did you get any sheds?
No, we didn't get a shed because honestly, man, like the whole thing was like, it was such a short hunt, kind of. But I mean, it was 4 days, but it was like really a short hunt because like day 1 we were on this elk the whole time, like the whole day, 8 hours. Day 2, I killed mine at like maybe like 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. We saw him like first daylight. Day 3 was another day that was just like super windy. Like my dad was still kind of struggling. Like, again, he's 65 years old, and we're over there climbing legit mountains, not tall rolling hills that are 10,000. These things are steep. But day 4 was like, he was like, all right, I got 2 days left. Like, I just got to push through it. Like, this is what we're going to do. And like I said, he killed it like that first morning, like breaking daylight.
Awesome.
So it was, but definitely a cool trip, man. Like I said, I'd love to like maybe take my wife back and let her kill one. And, at this point I got a 291 on the wall. So, it'd be cool to kill another one, but I like to see my wife kill stuff too. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She hunts?
She does, yeah. Not as much as she used to, man, with the kids and stuff,
Yeah.
but she definitely still likes it. She just got an old Raven crossbow, so she'll be geared up, ready to go.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Those are bad, dude.
Yeah, they're sick.
Yeah, I love talking about out west, man, because it's just like, especially if you're not from out there and you go out there and just experience it, it's so vast and fascinating and just it's just massive country.
100%.
Yeah,
I think the unit was like 1 million acres. Like
your unit.
Yeah, just the one unit.
Just the one unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're not gonna, and that's the thing about hunting out west is they say like, get to one area and focus on that area.
Yeah.
Because it's like, the area that you're focusing on is the size of Randolph or
Yeah.
Rockingham County.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yep.
You know, and so it's just such a big country out there. And I've driven through New Mexico, but I've never.
Yeah.
So you guys drove drove back. So what was it? It was 5-6 days or something roughly.
So
You guys just straight shoot?
no, we
drive, or you
went.
stopped?
We basically drove for 2 solid days. So like day one,
Yeah.
I think we drove to like Memphis, essentially on the other side of Memphis. Spent the night there.
cut down.
Yeah. Then we ended up spending the night like in West Texas, and then we ended up being in like Cloudcroft, which was like the little bitty ski town we stayed at, which was the highest elevation in that area.
Okay.
That's where we went first. That's where we went to like spend the night beforehand, just to get it, accustomed. So we got there that morning at maybe like 10 o'clock out there. So spent basically one night there. The next day out was basically a travel day to get to the outfitter and all that. So
Gotcha. Now Austin doesn't live there, does he?
no, he lives in Utah.
Utah.
Yeah,
That's what I thought. Yeah. There's Cedar City, right?
I can't remember. Yeah.
Over there. I'm not sure.
He's got his hands full. I think he's got like 8 kids.
Well, yeah, but these guys, bro, that's all they do for a
Oh,
living.
dude, yeah.
It's
He's
all
a sheep
year.
guy all day.
Oh, fucking, it's nuts, dude. Jason Carter, all those guys out there, these are like the killers of killers, man. As far as when it comes to deer hunting, I mean, they study these things. They're watching them year round, especially deer, but elk as well. They're big time. He's a sheep guy.
Yeah, big sheep guy. Grizzly bears in Alaska. Alaska's
bro.
like his thing, man.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm ready for all that, to be honest with you. That's maybe one day. I don't know. I really just enjoy going out and hunting mule deer. That's kind of my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I just
want to win the lottery so I can give me a bighorn.
Dude, they're sick.
That's like the dream animal, man.
Have you seen one? Have you seen one in person?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What a majestic fucking animal,
They're
man.
awesome, dude.
I would love to have one, but
that's a straight dream for 99.9% of the world.
Dude. I mean, I really want to get into doing, and I've been kind of focusing a little more. I've been shooting my bow quite a bit this year, and I kind of want to get into doing. I'd like to go out there and try to kill an elk with a bow.
Yeah,
because it's not easy to draw, but you have more options.
Yep, 100%.
With the bow, and that September hunt, man, I'm itching to go, and it's like, if you don't draw, I've got, I don't know, like, I think I'm in 5 or 6 states right now: Arizona, Nevada, Wyoming, Utah, Colorado. Am I missing one? I think those are all the states that I'm in currently right now, putting in every year. I put in every year.
Yeah. That Arizona tag is going to be something.
That's what I'm hoping for.
That's the land of giants.
That's the land of giants. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be years probably, but hey, you never know.
Place for elk, man.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I've seen them too. Coming on, I did a road trip way when I was younger, and we drove down through Texas and kind of went down the lower part of the 48 and drove way down in there, and we came like, I don't think exactly where we were at. We were pulling into Arizona, and we were coming down some highway, and dude, every like mile or 2 miles there was elk herd sign, like warning, elk herd, whatever, and sure shit, dude, we came down that hill, dude, and there was fucking elk to the left and to the right. I was like, holy moly, this is crazy. And what's amazing is the western states of what they do for their animals.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, like Colorado, they've got game, like, you don't see like dead deer on the highways much, because they have these, I don't know how it is in New Mexico, but they have literally like, big game fences along the highways.
Yep.
And then they have these tunnels that go underneath the highway so the deer and elk can go under, the highways and stuff like that. And then they have these embankments that come off of the highways. So if one happens to get over, it can now jump safely back across. So pretty cool. How did they do that in New Mexico?
I don't remember seeing that, but like we were I think we were in like the eastern part of New Mexico. So I don't think we were actually in New Mexico that long. I remember being in Texas forever. Like, they always say Texas forever, dude. That's a real thing. Like, the place is never ending.
That's a big fucking state,
Yeah,
dude.
it's gigantic.
Yeah.
It, all the way across.
Yeah. So yeah, man, that's pretty sick that you've experienced that. I hope that, you know, more people out here can go at least experience that, because it's just, you know, of course I love whitetail hunting, even though I grew up out west, but I love whitetail hunting. So it's just my favorite thing to do. And, but dude, like if you can get on an elk or a mule deer, there's just no, you know, just the aspect of building up to it.
Yeah.
You know, you start training in whatever, April, May, you know what I mean? You're starting to hike, you're starting to walk, you start thinking about it, hydration, you start like honing in, your lifestyle kind of shifts a little bit, you know, where you're focusing on this goal. And the fact that you complete the goal, that's
There's nothing like
badass.
it. Yeah, it's
So
absolutely
freaking
nothing
rewarding.
Because it's like, this is the hardest thing you'll probably ever do.
Yeah.
Like, and then you get it done.
That's sick,
It's like
dude.
challenge accepted. So, and they kind of changed it. Like, so now I think like New Mexico, they went away from like the scopes with muzzleloaders. So now everything's iron sight like Colorado. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a much more of a challenge.
Which
now, I
is,
guess.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
But the way they make these muzzleloaders now, they're rifles, dude.
yeah.
Like, and plus, why would you want to do that and risk the chance of wounding the animal?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, that's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
If you're going to keep it, why don't you just
Reduce the tags.
why don't you just not do it, or, you know, put more tags into, you know, rifle season or something? Why are you going to take it just because someone has, bro? You're literally going to like. There's a way higher potential to kill, you know, to hurt the animal.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
Yeah.
like you already have enough people going out there and missing on the bow and hitting it wrong, and you know, there's a lot of that goes on. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like that. Not a
Yeah.
fan.
I immediately came home and ordered a muzzleloader. So, like a real muzzleloader.
Yeah. Yeah, I bought a really badass CVA, and I was like, it says it's long range and also, and it actually does shoot pretty far, but
Yeah. That's what I had.
yeah.
And then I went smokeless, and that's the only way.
Yeah. Yeah.
3,000 feet per second.
Ooh,
300
daddy.
grain bullet.
Oh my God. How far you shoot that thing?
Dude, as far as I've shot is like 200 because all my shots are like 200 in. But,
Right.
I mean, the thing is like a half inch at 200.
Golly.
It's
Solid fucking gun,
it's
dude.
wild.
That's crazy. So tell me, man, the reason I wanted to talk to you was about the drone world.
Yep.
So tell me how you got into the drone.
So basically, you know, everybody asks this question, man. I wish I had like this $1 million answer. I don't by any means.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing it like online one day on YouTube and like didn't think that much about it. Well, then I kind of started like researching it because I'm like one of those people that like if I start thinking on something, I'm gonna like completely learn it. Like I don't like just look up something that's like, oh, that's cool. You know, never look at it again. I want to like fully understand what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So I remember looking, I was like, man, I've lost like 2 nice deer in the last 4 years. Like a couple like 130, 140 inch deer. It would have been cool if I would have had that. Like,
Yeah.
I'd have like a wall full of deer right now. I was like, I wonder how much they are. And they're like 6 or 7 grand. I was like, but it would kind of be worth like half that just for my personal use. I was like, so if I can make half of it back, like, let's try that. Like, I'll write it off on my taxes and start a business and go from there and see if it takes off. And I remember like before I did it, I asked probably like 30 people. I was like, what do you guys think? And it was like super mixed reviews. They were like, man, nobody in Rockham County is going to pay for that, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And I'm sitting there like the opposite because I'm like, dude, I spend all this time, all this money on hunting equipment. Like,
Right.
if it's truly your passion, you're not going to spend, $3,000-$4,000 a year easy on hunting stuff and not spend a couple $100 to find your trophy deer that you've been hunting for the last 3 years.
That's right.
Like, period. So yeah, I mean, I'm not, it's definitely a market. Like, it's for trophy hunters. Normally, but like as a let's just say I'm a 16-year-old kid, dude. If I shoot my first deer, like I'm gonna want to find it. Period. Everybody, a deer mean a little bit different to everybody.
That's right.
But I was just like, man, I feel like it would work. I just like kind of trusted my gut, and I was like, easy to say no. Like, I'm just gonna make sure it doesn't fail. Like, the end.
No plan B, baby.
There's no plan B. I mean, you know,
I love that.
at the end of the day, like I still got the drone. Like that's still pretty cool. I
Hell
use it
yeah.
for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
so, no, and I like. There's been like tons of trial and error with it. I mean, I've definitely put the time in, tons of flight hours. You know, most of the ones you find are, you know, people put like 5 hours, 10 hours, dude. I think I put like 250 on them like the first 6 months that I had it. Like I'd never flown a drone before. This was like, I was like, if I'm gonna wreck one, let's wreck a Lamborghini. So
That's that Rockingham attitude.
yeah, there we go.
Send
So
it, dude.
I was like, you know, let's not crash it the first minute I put it in the air, but like, let's just, you know, this thing's got sensors all over it. Let's fly in the daytime, get comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, I went all in, like, you know, started the business, you know, because it's not like you just go fly a drone and charge people money. That's not the way it works. Like, you've got to be licensed. You have to take a FAA test. And it's not like you just go take the test and pass it. It's not like that. I mean, it's not a common sense based test. It's you better understand airports and you better understand something about aviation.
Right.
And I remember studying for like a month and a half, like nonstop pretty much. Ended up passing the test, started the business, and I ended up starting it like in October of 23, which was right about the time Israel was in war. And it ended up being like a 2-month back order on the drone. So I didn't get the drone until like Thanksgiving 2023.
Where did it come from?
So they're all made in China. Like DJI, everything's made in China.
Right. Okay.
But everything like stateside was back ordered. So, you know, Israel's ordering all these drones, all these other, you know, even like Ukraine, Russia, they're fighting out, man. They own all kinds of these drones. Because DJI is the best one made. Like, I would love to buy an American made drone, but they're not any good. Like, they're twice the price, they're half the quality. Like, it's not even the same tool right now. Now, one day it may be, but, you know, by far, these things are the most advanced drones in the world. Like, they are absolutely top notch.
Which is fucking scary.
It is scary. Like, it is scary. But, I mean, I think that
You got one.
Yeah, I was like, you know, they always talk about, like, what is it, like the third largest army in the world is like the U.S. citizens, basically, or something.
Yeah.
So, no, man, you know, the one thing I'll say is like they have like geo zones of protections built into them to where like you can't fly certain areas. I mean, they've been talking about the drone ban for like a year or two now. But honestly, man, there's ways the software can be updated to the point where the concerns they have is not a real thing. Like there's ways to put it in the software. I mean, if we can go find, you know, a squirrel crawling up a tree in pitch black darkness, we can figure out how to, you know, make it a secure network.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's definitely taken off a little bit. We had a busy year.
So tell me about like how does this drone operate? Well, actually, let me ask you this: what the FAA?
Yep.
What are kind of some of the regulations around like? Is there a height restriction? Is there, you know, can you fly these at an airport, near an airport? Military bases, like what are the kind of the rules and regulations? I mean, I'm sure this is kind of a drawn question.
So but just like short answer, 400 feet above ground level
is as high as you can go.
400 feet. So if you want to launch, if you got to look up a 400, 500 foot mountain, you got to launch from 400 or 500 feet. You know what I mean? It's above ground level
of where you are,
of wherever you launch from. So
if you're at 8,000 feet elevation,
yep, you can go to
feet. Can you go down to 400 feet? Like
yes,
but you can't go up.
Yep,
Copy.
You're capped at 400 feet above ground level.
Copy. Okay.
Let's say you're going to look at, let's say there's a skyscraper. All right, you got to look at it. It's 400, 500 feet tall. You have the ability to look at 400 feet above a structure. So, like, let's say 1,000-foot building, I can go to 1,400 feet. Essentially.
Okay.
That's where they cap you at. So, as far as airports, every airport's a little different. There's different like airspace rankings, essentially, like Greensboro. These bigger airports, you know, essentially you have to have like air traffic control clearance, which is a whole nother ordeal that I haven't even like messed with. But
I don't know if I'd want to even
it's I mean, it can be done. Like I've been doing a videography job for a guy, and it's at a house. It's like right in the edge of PTI Airport. So now they have like instant authorizations and stuff, so you can still do it. But
And how high will that one go? What's the
It's at I caps at 400. I mean, you can cut it off, but I mean, you can fly as high as you want. But I mean,
of course you're not gonna mess with
I
that.
cap it at 400.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of a weird question to ask, but it could do if it wants to. How high could it go? Like elite, you don't just
Not a clue. I'm probably endless. I mean, you can go a mile.
That's
I mean, you
crazy.
can go a mile linear. So
okay. Yeah, that's
I
what I
would
was saying.
you could probably
Linear
go that
a
high.
mile. Holy shit, dude!
Yeah. So
That is serious.
the range is like all based off of what's around you. So like,
Well,
if I'm
because
launching,
communication from the
if I'm launching in the
controls.
middle of the woods, you can figure probably 600-700 yards. I'm launching at a giant, soybean field. I could probably go a mile.
Right.
So
Yeah, I guess it does. It matters the topography of where you're at.
yeah.
Yeah. So, so you go. So did you? So you got the drone first, then you went to get your actual flight license.
No,
or-
I took
or
the
your
test first.
First.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was it pretty hard? Was it
You're definitely not going to pass if you don't study.
really?
Yeah, you got to study for it.
God, there's probably
And the
so many
the
things.
crazy thing is like, again, like I feel like I'm a somewhat intelligent person. I'm not a genius by any means, but they're multiple choice ABC, and it's still like not easy. I remember walking out of there going, that was like probably the hardest test I ever took. I mean, I did well, and I made like an 84.
That's
but,
great.
It's definitely not something, if you don't know anything about aviation, you're just going to study for 2 hours and cram a study guide
Right.
and pass it, because
Yeah, no.
it's not the way it works.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Especially with, all the stuff that has to do with, their rules and regulations. They're not going to play around with
I
it.
mean, that's the biggest thing, is like the airspace, like truly understanding what airspace you're in.
It's essentially a highway.
Yep.
I mean, the airspace is a highway, right?
Yeah, so like everything, pretty much like 90+% of the world is like Class G, which is just general airspace. There's no restrictions. So
Right. And that's under 400 feet, like 400 feet. Okay. I'm trying to think. That's pretty high, but like what other stuff do you have to look out for at 400 feet?
like cell towers,
Birds,
stuff like that.
cell towers,
Yeah, I mean, if a bird clips
Helicopter.
you're going down.
you're going down.
Yeah, you're going down if a bird clips you.
Have you gotten close? Like, as you getting close?
I mean, I've definitely had some birds and stuff fly by, but
Yeah.
nothing crazy.
Because you, it's pretty touchy. Like if you see something, you could out of the way.
Yeah, one of the biggest things is like your point, like you just said, helicopters. I
Power
mean,
lines.
most helicopters are going to have like pretty good software. I always use this app, basically check in where I'm at. It alerts, all the people that have
Gotcha.
certain softwares on their GPSs and things like that. But I mean, you've got people in like private planes, they don't have any of that.
Right.
And that's where things get kind of like dicey. Like you got to like pay attention to what's around you. I mean,
Right.
so you're trying to fly as well as like, observe everything around you.
Right. And that thing's got a pretty good like camera on the controls. How that probably took a little bit to get used to that in general. Cause I know with like my stump grinders, like they're all remote control
Yeah.
and that was not easy, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I went and ground free stumps for like 2 months prior to like going out and starting to actually do it,
Yeah.
as a business. This was years ago. And that's even advanced, you know what I mean, with the hand controls and stuff, because I got to be able to look at the head of the machine while controlling it and then looking around for every, potential dogs or wires or whatever. So you're like, at this point now, I don't even look at,
Oh yeah, 100%.
you're probably the same way.
same
Like
way.
you just,
Like this one. So this first drone I had was smaller. It just had like a one directional gimbal on the camera. It just means it went up and down. This one has like side gimbal as well. Now that took some getting used to, man, the first time, because where the zoom was for the other camera or the other drone is where like the side gimbal is here. So that the whole configuration is a little bit different on this one, but we figured it out. It wasn't too crazy.
and this one here, like so it is infrared or, what do you call it? Infrared.
Yeah, it's infrared. Yeah,
So you can see
thermal.
it, thermal imagery. So you can see it at night.
Yep.
And it's pretty clear.
Yeah. Oh, it's real clear.
Yeah.
Like if I see a deer laying there, I know if it's dead. Like,
Wow.
I use the daytime in the spotlight because I mean anything could be different, but most of the
It's
time,
easier to fly a drone in the day, obviously.
yeah, most of the time their legs are like kicked out. They're on their side, like 90+% of the time.
Wow, that's crazy.
And you can see their legs. I mean, their legs are pointed straight out. They're laying straight on their side.
They're done.
Yeah.
And he looks. I seen some videos of you. You've like rescued a couple dogs and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
did you rescue a cow once, or
Yeah,
was it a
so it was
little
like
calf?
a 3-day-old calf.
Oh, wow.
That's the whole
That's
other thing
cool.
is like, the pet recovery stuff is, a whole nother avenue. I advertise it a little bit, but I mean, deer recovery is definitely what we specialize in. That's kind of what the brand was built off of. But yeah, we can definitely find dogs. I think I'm up to three dogs and a cow so far.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's great because there's, I mean, and you said you're doing some stuff for, you can do a ton of,
Yeah.
Here's the thing about starting a business, man. It's always good to get the opinions of other people, but business is like one of these things that if you love what you do, it doesn't really matter anymore what anybody says.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I've had a lot of people that in the kind of the beginning phases of us going into business that were not very supportive.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And they didn't really like say it, but you could tell. And it's like, then some years later they go, "Hey, I was wondering if you have availability to I'm like, "Oh, remember when?" Okay, I got you. But no, I mean, like when you fall in love with something, dude,
No,
like
100%.
we love what we do, as business owners, and there's just nothing that can compare to it.
Yeah.
And what you have going on here is like really cool.
Yeah, it's really fun, man. And honestly, man, like one of the most rewarding things is just like the network of people we've met. Like,
Yes.
just tons of people. Like some of like my best friends now are literally people I didn't know a year ago.
That's
Like
awesome.
it's great connections. Meeting tons of new people in different areas. I mean, we've been as far as east as Raleigh.
Oh, wow.
Even further than that, honestly. We've been, Chatham County probably a half dozen times. So, I mean, the goal is like ultimately having the two drones this year. I've got another pilot, Ethan, that helps me out. Man, he's awesome. This is his first year.
Awesome.
Lucky for him, he got his feet wet on the opening weekend of muzzleloader.
Oh, wow.
Because it just so happens my daughter's birthday is that weekend, and we always go on like a trip to like Dollywood and stuff.
Yes.
So, yeah, he got opening day at muzzleloader. I think he had 8 calls the first day.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was the point like we had to turn some stuff away, but that's what we're trying not to do. If we got a double drones, we can cover more range. Get to people quicker.
Right.
Because there's been plenty of mornings we're running calls at 2-3 a.m. And that's ideally, man, I don't want the customer being out there at 2-3 a.m. If it means me buying another drone and me having another pilot, that's what we do.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have a much better experience if I get there at 9 p.m. versus 3 a.m. So.
Right. Because sometimes it's, it's timing is everything.
Absolutely.
On that, you know what I mean? Like, because believe it or not, deer can run a long goddamn ways.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Yeah.
And I think the first one I found, honestly, man, was almost a mile from the shot site.
That's crazy.
So the guy, he called in another drone. It wasn't a DJI, it was something else. The guy had like 2 batteries. I mean, I don't even know if it was like a true business or if he was just kind of flying. He didn't find it. They call a dog in, dog finds it, bumps him, and and don't get me wrong, I'm not like anti-dog as
Right.
a pilot. I mean, they all
Sure.
have their place.
Sure.
Like if there's no trees on the ground, like or no leaves on the trees, you'd be crazy not to call me, because I'm gonna be able to tell if that deer's alive.
Right away, like
And
pretty quickly,
70% of what we look for this year were still alive.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because as long as you're not pushing them, they're going to go bed down.
They go
Especially
bed down.
depending
Yep.
upon where the wound. Well, pretty much most of the time they're going to bed down,
Yep.
regardless of the wound.
100%.
Yeah.
And honestly, man, like when I was waiting for the drone, like I was doing like handheld thermal recoveries. Like some of the first ones I had were like handheld.
What do you mean by handheld?
Like me going with like a thermal monocular and just finding people's deer.
Oh,
going through the woods like on foot, like while I waited. You know what I mean? I was waiting on a drone for 2 months. I'm in business. Like we need to start making some money. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, we found a couple of handheld, and we'll still do that some. I mean, I got a nice handheld monocular, but I mean, definitely the drone is the way to go. Just you can tell everything about a deer shot site. You can evaluate them. Probably one of the most impressive finds this year is we found one for a guy, Sandy Brady. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he shot.
Pocket cross, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he shot a 137 with a slingshot or a sling bow.
Oh, wow.
Right. And I mean, this thing was at like 6 yards when he shot it. I mean, or it was inside of 10 yards. And I mean, he calls me. He was like, hey, introduces himself. Hey, I'm using a sling bow. I'm already at a disadvantage. Feel like I shot him in the heart though, but I struggle seeing blood. I don't want to bump him. Sure. Okay. So he shoots him at like 6:30. We come out there about 8. Get out there, fly around. We see this buck, nice buck. Well, this thing ended up being basically still like cruising around on his feet. And this deer was still alive the next morning at 7 p.m. or 7 a.m. So we kind of like tucked him in that night. He beds down. He kind of looked funny when he bedded. We confirmed it was him. We could see like a tiny little crab claw on his left side. We were like, that's definitely him. 130 plus inch deer. Well, come back out the next morning at 7. This deer's like sprawled out on his side, like looking sick, not doing well. And like everybody watching's like, oh, he's dead, like celebrating. Well, you see like this faint, like his side like raises up where he's breathing. And like as I drop in, this deer's like panting. I mean, you can tell he's getting sick. Well, he stands up and like at night we couldn't see anything. He's like up cruising. He's not bleeding. He stands up, dude. It's like a 5-gallon bucket of black blood like dumps out of him. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, there's the shot site. It's back. It's a liver shot. Like we know exactly where he's at. He goes like 20 yards and crashes back down and lays there. So we pinged him. I was like, I was getting ready to go on a field trip with my daughter. I was like, I'll be back in like 4 hours. So I come back at lunchtime. He done moved again, like another 25 yards. We ended up finding him in the swamp. And he was dead. Like he was in this big thicket of like green brush, and we found him. It was like a true 17 hours later after the shot.
Wow.
And that's just a deer like you're never gonna find if you're going in there on foot.
Because you're gonna push him.
You're gonna push him.
The dog's gonna push him.
He was fine, dude. Like he was
That's
up,
crazy.
literally walking. I got a video of him like literally walking around. And like as we're pulling him out, we go back to the shot site. So Sandy had like his arrow, good blood all the way, like good blood halfway up the arrow. Well, you could see like good blood, like going in this big cutover. Like we immediately walk up to it, start tracking it. I mean, this is a good shot. Like it's not a bad shot by any means. I mean, he was 2 inches back on a heart shot. Then,
damn,
so that's a deer that 99.9% of the population is walking in there. But Sandy knew like up front, I'm at a disadvantage with a sling bow. I'm not risking it.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to do.
Yep.
He's got 137 inch like world record sling bow kill now. Wow. Because he didn't go in there after it. Like that. And I mean, that happens crazy. So often, dude. Like,
yeah. No, I've had, and yeah, I had a really nice buck this last year. Probably would have been the biggest buck. Yeah. We all say that. Oh, it was the biggest buck.
Yeah.
But literally it was probably the biggest buck that I've ever shot at with my bow.
Yeah.
And I hit him, and I don't know what happened, dude. I have no idea. In fact, I thought, because I found one that I shot years ago. I actually found his head, and he did a U-turn. So from where I shot him, he went down and around and made a U-turn and died. Well, we didn't go that direction because I was like, we were following blood and we lost it.
Yeah.
And this is like the third time I've killed a deer where it made a U-turn. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's where you shoot them and they start getting that, like equilibrium issue, or, I don't know what it was. Maybe he was bedding down in there or something.
Yeah.
So he's like running back to his bed. But this one last year, I'd been watching him all summer, and there was 3 of them in this little area. And, I actually got close enough, set my stand up to where they were bedding. So I was able to literally, I didn't see them exactly where they were at bedding where I was sitting, but the wind was just right, and basically saw them get up and like made a little turn and came into me. It was like 13 yards. Yep. I don't know what happened, dude. I have no idea. I mean, anything, bow hunting is, is different till you're up in a tree in a saddle.
Yeah.
And he's right there, big as hell, and you're trying to just stay as focused as possible. You think you've done enough practice, and that's where you come in. Yep. It's like, we're trying to do our part, and you're doing your part by doing this, because this is going to help a lot of people out.
Oh, 100%.
Help a lot of people.
Again, I would say 70% of what we found this year was still alive. Like especially muzzleloader. Like If
He
anybody,
could have. I could have pushed this one.
oh, dude,
You know what I mean?
if anybody's watching and you're shooting a muzzleloader, do not shoot that deer in the shoulder. You will find that deer on 3 legs and you will never recover him. Like, period. People are always
Right.
like, I don't want to gut shoot one. I'll gut shoot one all day.
I hate to say it, but
I got the
most of them I've killed. I've had a lot of killed gut shot.
You just give them time.
Just give them some time. They'll die.
Call the drone, and the guy comes in and fires it in 10 minutes. Like,
Pay the man.
Yeah.
Send him.
yeah. I mean, it's, but again, man, like I would say, like, biggest advice, like, look at your blood type. I mean, this is like obvious stuff. Look at your blood type. Look at how the deer reacts. And then if you go more than like 200 yards, like, you need to back out. Because if he ain't dead in 200 yards, sure, he might be another 75 yards in front of you.
Yeah.
But a lot of deer we found this year are 100 yards or less.
Yeah.
And there was a whole lot of deer that were 8, 900 yards that were still alive, even 250 yards that were still alive. Like,
Yeah.
as long as you're not pushing them, they're not going to go that far. And,
Right.
But they'll go a country mile, like, if you keep going in there after them.
Right.
So,
And I think this year for me is I was listening to one of my favorite hunters, the Hunting Beast.
Yeah.
And I think it was him that said, if you don't see it or hear it, leave it alone.
yeah.
And so it's like, if you don't see him go down or you don't hear him crash, but you do happen to get out and just check, make sure maybe you find the arrow. Is it blood all the way through? Is there guts? Potentially a lung shot. And obviously, you might need to study those things to see because clearly you can tell what is what. Is it bubbly?
Yeah.
It's a lung shot.
Yeah, I mean, if you can feel good about a long shot, like, you're probably
Okay doing it. Yeah. And so for me now, I'm going to if I have to, I'm pulling out and we're going to wait and we're going to call you and you're coming. Cause I just, after that heartbreak last year, man, that was the first time that I was really super bummed, dude, because I felt like, you work, like you said, man, you spend so much money and so much time prepping in the beginning of the season and, and then here it comes the day that you get to shoot this animal.
Yeah.
And you lose it and it's just devastating.
Yeah.
You ain't sleeping that night. I'm not.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
I shot one this year at like 67 yards at the crossbow. And, like, it was the craziest thing. I was so I took my daughter hunting for the first time. Like, she's
That's
5.
awesome.
So she wasn't hunting. She was just sitting. Like, we were just going to watch deer. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Very little expectations. Had a nice, heavy 9-pointer come out. He's not going to score off the charts, but deer probably weighed 215, like, legitimate pounds. And this was in, like, October. So he hadn't even, like, hit the rut, swole up. He was every bit of like 210. So deer comes in. I tell my daughter, I'm like, hey, just sit right there for a minute. Like, got a big one. Just sit tight. And she does awesome, man. Like, she's like in there. She's got her snacks. Like, she's completely silent.
Snacks,
like,
baby.
Perfect. So
Eats them all as soon as she gets in there.
absolutely, yeah. So, and the crazy thing was, it was like 70 degrees. It was hot. Like, it wasn't cold at all.
Was this what part of the season?
This was like during bow.
Oh, it was bow
like
season,
late
okay.
bow season. It was like the first or second week in October. I can't remember, but it was like 70 degrees. It was like before daylight savings time, so it was like dark at like 7. So I was like, let's go. So we go out there, and he comes in at like 65 yards, and that's a stretch. You know what I mean? But like where I'm hunting at, like, it's not really a bow stand. Like, we don't do a lot of bow hunting anyway up there at my lease. But he cruises in, and like I'd shot at 65 because I knew how far the feeder was, and I was grouping him in there like inch. So I was like, we just got to let him get comfortable, pick the right shot. Well, he ends up kind of quartering away from me perfect. I mean, he's quartered away, and I was like, I'm gonna stick it right on that back rib and let it eat. So I see it hit. I see the arrow hit him perfect right where I aimed. Deer doesn't duck the arrow or anything. He just like stands up and walks out of the field. Doesn't run, doesn't react, literally just walks out of the field. And I'm seeing the arrow like hanging off his side, like just rubbing up against his side. And then all of a sudden I see the arrow fall out. And I'm just sitting here like second guessing everything I've done. I was like, did the broadhead not open? Like, what happened? So my daughter's always like, where's he? Is he dead? Like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I don't know. Let's go look. So we give it like 5 minutes. I get like my nerves and stuff calm down. Tell her like, hey, we got to be completely silent. Let's go get the arrow. Go get the arrow, and it's perfect. I mean, it's full, like all the way down except for like 1 inch of the fletching.
So it went through and fell out the other side.
No, it was on the same side it went in. So it did not go all the way through. So
It deflected?
I'm like, so it went in the back rib and he was quartered
Quartered
away. So
away.
it basically went
Okay.
all the way almost up to his opposite shoulder.
Gotcha.
So we ended up tracking him. I didn't even go in after him. I had the drone. We pull out. I see blood, like feel good about the shot. The arrow's like completely soaked, bright red blood. Looks great. But I'm like still second guessing his reaction because like the deer walked in slow motion, like out of the field. Never trotted, never did anything. Just walked and disappeared. So I get the drone up. I fly over there, kind of like it's like a river bottom. It's kind of swampy. I see a deer laying there by the creek. He's just laying there. And I was like, man, that's got to be him. So I was just like, all right, I'm gonna back out. He's not dead yet. Something's going on. I don't feel great about it. So I give it like 3 hours. I come back with a drone. Like at this point, my daughter's gone to sleep. Like I was like, if I find it, I'll wake you up. So I go in, I fly the drone again, and boom, there he is. He's like 60 yards outside the field, laying down in like this big thicket, dead as a doornail.
Oh, wow.
Like he only ran like he like walked 50 yards and died. So essentially, like the shot basically like crushed both lungs, just quartered. It either crushed one or crushed both. But I had my processor, like he like literally sends me a picture of the back side of the cape where the shoulder was, and you could see like the cut from the broadhead on the inside of the, like it just did not quite have enough, but it went like 2.5 feet through him, dude.
Oh, wow.
It was like a killer shot, but it was definitely a second guessing everything.
Yeah.
So you can't always tell by the reaction on if that deer's dead or not. So,
Right.
but
Well, I mean, that's why you do. You
that's
got
why we do
this.
that. That's
Yeah.
why we don't bump deer anymore.
No, what a genius way of doing it now. Like, it's just, yeah, you're going to get freaking busy this year, dude. I can just, I mean, like, you need to.
I mean, I
You need
remember
two drones because
Yeah.
you get, you get, guy calls you on Monday night, you might get another call that night, and you can be up late if you have one drone.
Yeah, and there's other people in the area, man. And just a lot of times, I mean, we're
Yeah.
all stay pretty busy, but
Yeah.
it's all about, do you have the time to run the call? Especially like those first couple weeks of muzzleloader.
Are you 24 hours? I mean, like, how are you, what's
So-
your business hours open? Or what do you recommend people do during
I always
season?
tell people, like, call me as soon as you can. Like, as soon as you know, like, I'm coming, like, you need to call me. Because if I got 3 or 4 other calls, like, you're going to be waiting till the next day probably.
Right.
Because you only, I mean, at some point I got to sleep. I do work 2 jobs. But,
Right.
I mean, me being out 3 a.m., 4 a.m. is just part of it. That's what we do.
Right.
But you're also, like, kind of handcuffed by the weather. So
Right.
the sun is, like, heat is bad, but the sun is the worst possible thing. Like, it can be 80 degrees and cloudy, and I can find deer all day long. But the second it's 50 and sunny, I struggle. Because everything, for whatever reason, with a bright sun, just, like, the thermals are just, they warm up so quick. So, like, if it's going to be sunny, I cap at, like, 9 o'clock in the morning. Because after that, I'm not, like, doing the right thing by the customer. Like, I'm going to be completely transparent. I'm not going to go out there and look at the wrong time for you.
So best time to look is when?
The best time to look is at night. Like, either at night or the first, like, 2 hours after
The
sunrise.
heat coming off of them?
Yeah, so everything is just cool at that point. The sun's down.
Right.
Everything's cooled off. I mean, you figure once the sun starts going down, things are already cool for an hour before it's dark. And then if you're another hour after that, it's 2 hours after the sun's gone down.
So once the sun's gone down, then, so you're saying 2 hours after the sun goes down is when you typically like to start?
I mean, if it's really cold, like, I'll start at, like, sunset. It's just,
Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
If it's like 50, 60, which is most days in North Carolina, I usually try to give it some extra time because the last thing I want to do is go out there at the wrong time
Right.
and fly over your deer. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, because I mean,
Which is a fair thing to say because
Absolutely.
you're not out here trying to charge people for, times that don't, that are not honorable for going out and looking for deer.
I would
this.
rather come find your
That's
deer
great.
at midnight than 6 p.m. because I know for me, it's
You know
most
what the
successful
capabilities
time.
of that
Yeah.
thing are. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, 8, 9 o'clock is fine. Like I said, 7 o'clock's fine. You just want a couple hours after sunset just to let everything kind of cool off.
Right.
And then, if it's cloudy, like, I can look all day. So we do the recovery stuff, but we also do like property mapping. So we go through and like scout people's properties, tell them how many bucks, how many does, their ratios, where they're bedded most of the time. Now, if you've got like a 2,000 acre tract, it's going to be impossible for me to tell you where they're bedded. You know what I mean? Because that's a multi-day job. Because when I do scouting stuff, I try to fly between like 9:30, 10 a.m. and like 2 or 3 p.m. And it's got to be like a cloudy or rainy day because they're bedded down. The thermals are still good during that time period.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's sunny, like I'm going to miss 80% of what you got,
Right.
which is why I don't fly when it's sunny.
So you'll go out and you actually scout properties for people.
Oh yeah. So we do like we'll basically create like a Google map image of your property, and basically ping where every buck, doe, coyote, fox, bear, whatever you got on your property. We ping them. Turkeys, I can find turkeys as well.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
That would, I mean, man, that would be great to hitch up with Peterson's Wildlife too, because they go onto people's properties and like basically bring them to life for deer and things like that.
Absolutely.
I mean, that might be a good resource for you to connect with. I'll have to get you guys connected because the stuff that they do is pretty awesome. Like, and he's very very knowledgeable in like basically taking a piece of property and telling you what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, like we know quite a bit of the information and stuff like that on most of our properties. I mean, you learn as a deer hunter, like kind of where they're at, and typically they kind of do the same thing year after year, depending upon what the food sources are.
Sure.
But this would be a great tool for them, because I know he's doing like a turnkey property type thing where they buy the property, set everything up for hunting for someone, and it's basically turnkey.
Yep.
And so, having something like this as well, like, man, you got a lot of avenues to go with it.
Yeah. I remember we did a call for a guy this year. So on the map and stuff, I do it from January 1st when the season ends through about the second week of February. So one of the things about it is like we're only gonna take so many because everything's weather dependent, like I talked about, and it's all you need a cloudy day. That gives you the most information you can get. So what I do is when people are like, yes, this is what I want to do, I put their name down. And then the very first cloudy day I have, I'll know like a day or two in advance. And I'll start going down my list and saying, are you available this day at this time to do it because the weather's right?
Right.
And if they're yes, we book it. If they're a no, I go to the next name. And I just work my way down the list until we're confirmed for that day on availability because I can't let like a perfect weather day pass for mapping because it's such a short window anyway.
Yeah.
You got 42 days essentially before they start dropping horns and stuff like that. So
Right.
because part of it is like you want to see what your buck is. You know what I mean? You don't want to just know, hey, there's a buck there because he's missing his horns and all you see is scabs on his head. So you're going to want to see what buck that is because it gives you your entire end of season scouting at one time.
Right.
You don't have to run trail cams. You don't have to keep feeding,
Right.
Sure, people like to do that, but in the grand scheme of things, you're going to spend probably more money feeding them for 2 months trying to get your full inventory.
Would you try to get in there? I mean, because I still think that, some of those bucks may not come back to the property till a little bit later sometimes because once they start grouping up and things.
Yep.
Would you recommend doing it maybe, sometime mid to late summer? I mean, maybe even a little earlier just because you don't want to be, May or something like that, because obviously typically by like June, July, you should have already had kind of been in there and had things done and leaving it alone. That would be what I'd recommend.
The biggest problem with that is June, July, August, you have full foliage.
Yes.
So
difficult.
Weather's warm, but it's fine. The hot weather isn't going to matter because you're looking for live deer. They're 97, 98 degrees, whatever they are, but you're still looking for that. It drops down to the 70s. The ground's cooling off a whole lot quicker than those deer are. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the problem is when I do a map, I want to give you 100% accuracy of what you have on your property that day. I don't want to give you 95. I want to give you 100.
This is what I saw today. Everything on your property.
This is what is on your property today.
Right.
Sure, you may have a buck on camera that's not on your property right now because bucks do travel. That's the reality of it.
Sure.
But what I am able to tell you is you've got 65 does and 4 bucks on your property right now. So you have a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now that's an extreme case, but that was a property we filmed this year. It was like 75 does and 5 bucks. It was the guy had just got the property and wanted to see what he had, and like the third day in January, that's what he had, and he was not feeding. So He had a doe haven. But I always tell people, like, with this map and stuff, I'm going to give you 100% accuracy of what you have.
Right.
Is it 100% accuracy for your entire herd count that you're going to see over the course of the next 12 months? Probably not. Because
Right.
deer do travel. That's the reality of it. But I'm going to give you 90+% ratios on what you have. Sure, you may have 2 bucks show up, but if you got 64 does and 4 bucks, even if you have 2 bucks show up, you still got a problem.
Yes.
Because you're trying to be at 2-to-1, 3-to-1, being realistic in North Carolina.
Right.
So the biggest thing is it really just gives you, all right, let's just say you've got 6 bucks, 21 does. At that point, you know, okay, I feel pretty good about my property. Like, that's not a bad ratio. I just probably need to keep knocking down, 2-3 does a year
Right.
to my buck. Just kind of maintain what I'm doing.
Right.
Whereas the other guy, he's got, 1 buck and 15 does might be all he has. But the reality is he may be hunting pines where he doesn't have any food nearby.
Right.
So that's the whole nother thing is like, what kind of food do you have? How much food do you have available? So we did a job for a guy. He had 87 acres. And I pull up to the job, and the first thing I notice is like what I'm passing is like 5-year-old cutover, which is like prime. That's the best habitat you could
It's
have.
the best.
So I pull up, and he's got like a mix of pines and hardwoods. It's 85 acres. And I look at him and I say, do not be surprised if we don't find a deer on your property. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, don't get me wrong, we're going to see deer today, but there might not be a single one on your property. And he's like, and I go to explain to him, I put the drone up in the air. I didn't even fly. I just went straight up in the air, and I literally scanned this cutover, and it took me 3 seconds to find a deer. I was like, there's a deer right there. And they're all like, holy crap, like, how did that happen that quick?
Right.
And then we fly his property. There's 1 deer on his property.
Yes.
I mean, he's been feeding. He's got 1 deer on his property. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, he's got 80 acres of 5-year-old cutover on one side and 70 acres of 5-year-old cutover on the other side. And he's got a 50-50 mix of hardwoods and pines. So at that point in January, he has no food. You know what I mean? Even though he's feeding, they're not staying there. They're going to that cutover. They're natural browsing.
Yep.
They're laying down where there's cover, and then they're coming back.
Yep.
So, for him, like, as we kind of put it in perspective, like, he fully understood at that point, like, okay, that makes tons of sense. Now I know I need to hunt the edges because right now I'm hunting the middle of my property. It does me absolutely no good. I need to hunt these edges of my property.
That's right.
And the thing is, like, you can map properties without being on somebody else's property. You know what I mean? There's no property lines in the sky, but like, we're still going to be respectful. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go buzzing by people's buildings and stuff like that looking for deer.
Right.
But will I fly to the edge and look in the edge of their cutovers? Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
it's not illegal to stand on this property and look into their
No,
field.
100%,
I mean, it's totally
so,
legal.
I mean, that's just part of it. And like, if somebody's got a 600-acre tract, there's probably no use in that. But if you got 50 sandwiched between 300, then you probably need to check the edges. So
Right. Which actually, I hate to, I actually like, we have a big farm that we hunt on, and I've got several small places that I hunt, and I love the smaller ones better.
Yeah.
Because I feel more like I already know what's going on. I don't have it in my mind that I should have been over there.
Yep.
So I already know. Like, I know what's going on already right out the gate. And it's just, it's obviously nicer too because, everybody wants the 500-acre spot.
Sure.
But you know what would be really cool is if you had like 10, 50-acre spots.
Yep.
They're just as effective.
Yeah, 100%.
As long as because each one's going to do something different.
Yep.
There might be some transition where these bucks are coming in and out of a certain part of the year. And if you're paying attention to it, that's how a lot of my deer are killed. They're not killed on these big 600, 7,000 acre places. The small locations, specific, and, cause I'm not from here, so my family doesn't have 1,000 acres. I don't come from that.
Yeah.
So getting some permission on a few places. I mean, I've got one that's, God, what is that? Like 28 acres?
Yeah.
Killed some nice deer there.
Oh, dude, I had 4 acres. My parents had 8. Dude, I swear, in the last 10 years, I've got 5 deer, 150 plus.
Isn't that wild, dude?
Like, with literally like the shop in the back of the picture.
That's
they're 30 yards
great.
from the shop.
That's
like,
awesome.
I've got a 140.
There's nothing
plus,
wrong with that either.
Yeah, I got a 140 plus inch 8-pointer from like July one year at my other house.
Mm-hmm.
I literally took a picture of my bathroom window. He's like 12 yards behind my bathroom window. Like,
No,
deer's just cruising through.
I don't care. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's just North Carolina. It's like there's so many deer, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about like the populations on the last podcast, it's really interesting to see how everything's kind of transitioned over the years. I mean, you grew up here. I mean, they're talking, way back in the day, if somebody came in and shot a little spike buck, that was like the big thing in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was like, oh shit, And then they went through a period where there was like a high doe population.
Yep.
And then they started, kind of getting on the decline a little bit more and have brought up the buck population. Because there's been some people, man, there's people on Facebook you see during season killing some really nice deer, man.
Yeah.
It's like, holy smokes. Like, I feel like, honestly, the deer are getting better in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think part of it, too, is like everything's becoming a management. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You always hear about like herd management, deer management.
Yeah.
People are always trying to grow bigger deer. I mean, 90% of your hunters, sure. Dude, don't get me wrong. I knock down 3 or 4 does because I like having a freezer full of deer meat, too. But, I wait till December to do that. I trophy hunt the first 3 months of the year, and then the last 2 weeks of the year, we fill the freezer. But yeah, there's tons of deer, man. We're full of deer around here.
Especially up in Rockingham County.
Oh yeah,
Some
Rockingham, Stokes, Caswell,
Baswell, all northern part of the state.
Three right there. Chatham County's impressive too. I'll say that.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow. I don't hunt. Yeah.
I got a call one night from a guy, and he's like, "Man, I killed a giant. He's like 160." And he's like, "I've killed like 150s. This deer's like 160, 170." I mean, I'm always hesitant. I'm just like, no. So he doesn't run trail cameras. They have like 1,000+ acres. So it was like 11:30, 12 o'clock before I can get there. And he's like, "Man, I got to go to work. My buddies are going to meet you out there." So that's fine. We'll make it work. So I'm talking 5 minutes in, there's a 160, 170 walking around on a doe. And I'm just like, there he is right there. Like, that's got to be him. Like, how many 160s and 170s do you see? Not many. Mm-mm. And I mean, he's like legit. This is a legitimate, 20+ inch inside spread, probably 16-inch, 18-inch tines, like mass. Like, he's legit. Well, I ended up looking. I was like, well, that deer's fine. Let me keep looking around. I ended up finding a deer. The deer's like, mid 140s. He's not 160, not 170. He's like mid 140s.
Right.
We end up finding him. We pull him out or whatever. And I call him, I call him next day. I was like, "Hey, man, your buddy's got your deer." He's like, "Yeah, he sent me a picture of it." He's like, "Man, I'm really sorry for bringing you out there." And I'm just like, all right. I mean, that's like probably one of the biggest deer I found this year. He's like, "Man, I heard there was like a giant out there." And I was like, "Oh, there's a giant out there." So he's like a borderline of moose, man. Like, it's the biggest deer I've ever seen on my drone. And he's like, shit. He hunted him like the rest of the year and never killed him. Oh, never put up trail cameras. Like, it just wasn't his thing. It was, he's like, "I'll kill him next year," which was cool. But it's, you see some wild stuff. That's for sure.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's impressive for North Carolina.
Oh, it's an absolute brute.
Yeah.
Like, but again, he's completely owning like, multiple thousand. I think it was like, I said 1,000. I think he actually had like 8,000 acres.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, it's
nothing on there.
It was just like, they had like cattle and stuff.
Wow.
I mean, that was like investment properties and everything else. I mean, it was a heck of a spot, but definitely some nice deer there. I mean.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, North Carolina's they're making. I mean, it's nice to see that people are starting to kind of like learn the management side of it too. Because it's so big. Like food and resources are huge.
You gotta let your 8-pointers live. Like, once you kill one, like at that point, you gotta let them live.
I'm a tag filler, so I don't give a shit. I'm filling tags. Of course, dude. I mean, I've killed probably like 6 or 7 real nice bucks. And so. But I'm filling tags, baby. Yeah. Like, that's just my goal every year. I'm trying to, that's my goal. I mean, and again, trophy's your trophy. And
absolutely.
It's not somebody's trophy. People are like, "Oh man, you should have let him grow for another 35 years." It's like, okay, cool. Like,
just from a management perspective.
I don't know.
like,
I'm not trying to be sponsored.
No,
You know,
it's all
I'm not-
about, and that's the thing is
trophies.
like
your
this
trophy.
person's giant might be 120, but that's the biggest deer.
Because
they've
you
ever
just
killed.
said, man, that's a huge fucking deer.
Yeah, like
Right.
dude, it's like one. I mean, it's bigger
Yeah.
than any deer I've ever killed.
Yeah.
Like my biggest deer is like 134 maybe,
Yeah.
and I just killed that like 2 years ago. I've been hunting for 15 years. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's a 134 8-pointer. Like it's a heck of a
That's
deer.
a good deer. Yeah.
And you know, it's again, man, it's all about like what is your objective to hunt? Because again, hunting is not all about horns. Like for me, like that's kind of what drives me.
Yeah.
But again, I knock down 3-4 does every year.
Yeah.
And I'm blessed to have enough land to hunt. You know what I mean? So I've got me and my family got 87 acres, and then I've got a 600-acre lease with 4 other guys that
Nice.
we've had for close to 5 years now. So like,
Awesome.
super blessed to have that. Very few people have that opportunity.
Yeah.
So you know, for me, I have the ability to kind of do the management side of stuff to a degree. But again, like you'll never hear me like my guys on the lease if they shoot a 115-inch 8-pointer, dude. If they put in the work just like I do,
Yeah.
you'll never hear me be like, "Why did he shoot that deer?" Because
No, you should never do
they
that.
deserve it. You know what I mean? If that's your trophy, that's your trophy. That's what you should shoot.
Right.
You know, the key for me is like not like I'm at the point in my life like I'm still young, but like dude, I've killed like the 291-inch elk, like probably the biggest thing I ever killed. I'll never have a whitetail that's 291 inches. You know what I mean? So I'm at the point now where it's like I'm starting to phase my kids into hunting.
Yeah.
Trying to get them around it more. You know, trying to get my wife kind of more involved, getting back to like when we were dating and stuff, man, we were hunting all the time together. But you know, obviously things are different now. You all have jobs, full-time jobs and
Kids.
everything else.
Oh,
Like this year, man, I think I hunted 4 times. Like just for me, like flying the drone, finding somebody else's deer is just as rewarding as
Yeah. Oh, I would imagine so.
I get the same thing. I get the same feel without the taxidermy bill. So
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like, you know, it's like the taxidermists and guys that are cutting deer all year. They don't, man, they're just, you know, they're just as passionate about hunting too. They just don't have time.
you don't have time.
You know what I mean?
100%.
You guys are, you know, you guys are full fledged, you know, and, you know, I'm really grateful for, you know, all these, you know, like hell, last year I was up there dropping some deer off to Eric and I just jumped in there for a couple hours, started cutting with him, helping him out. Cause like, you know, these guys are cutting all day long. His hands start cramping up and curling and you're up late getting deer. It's like a whole thing, you know, and I love every bit of it.
Yeah.
I love everything and anything to do with wildlife. It's just like such a big passion of mine, you know, and I wish I could do more of it. I mean, really, that's why I started my businesses too. Is like now I have more time.
Yeah.
Because when hunting season comes around, they all know what's going on. I'm hunting. So
Yeah, man, I think like for me too, it's everything is now like sometimes I just need that day. You know what I mean? I just need that day to be out there and just complete.
you got to take
quietness,
time for yourself.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, especially you know, I have a full-time job. You know,
Right.
every day, loud manufacturing facility. Like sometimes you just got to get in the silence, man. And, you know, just kind of decompress.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's important. I mean, you could definitely don't want to get too wrapped up in it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, have a specific time during the season that you're hunting and that's it. I'm off duty. This guy's taking over, whatever, you know, and then obviously taking time with the family and things like that. Cause I think as business owners and, you know, working, you know, all day, it's like, you know, I got to do better at that. I got to do better at like planning ahead and being like, I'm taking this week.
Right.
No call. I'm not taking nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just walk away from it and stuff like that. Cause you can get so consumed in, you know, oh my God, I got too much business. I don't have enough business. It's like you go back and forth, like, you know, it's a crazy thing in the business world.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's, I think part of me, man, is like, I'm trying to continue to grow. Like I said, you know, having multiple drones, potentially broaden our range. Luckily for me, like it's all seasonal. Our 90+% is seasonal. Obviously we do the pet stuff. We do some videography jobs for companies and stuff like that as well. But most of it is just, you know, September through, you know, well, I say it's seasonal. It's really September through February, which is half the year almost. But
That's still a lot. I mean,
yeah,
that's
it becomes a grind, man. Like November,
guarantee
December is people are like, oh man, you know, I really want to do that. And it's just like, well, think about the reality of it. Is you're leaving you're leaving home at 7:30 and you're not coming back for 4 or 5 hours. Like, and you're gonna do it the next night,
Right.
and then the next night, and then you're still getting up at 6:37, going to work, all that. So
Have you thought about having a dog for any other reason? Like kind of to have all aspects of this
Yeah.
industry? Like you said, you had the thermal imagery from, like the bino perspective.
Yeah.
Now you're from the air perspective. Have you thought about possibly adding that, or is that something you don't really think you need?
Like there's people out there that do it that are really good at it.
Yeah.
I know absolutely nothing about that. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like,
Right.
I'm an English bulldog guy. Like, so I got the old, slobbery.
He ain't going out
fat
there.
Bulldog, she's quite the athlete, but
Yeah.
no. So like, I don't know, man. I'm not like talking down on a dog whatsoever,
No.
man. But like, there's just somebody in there still alive. Like, the last thing I want to do is bump somebody's deer.
It's true.
I feel like, is there a possibility that I fly right over your deer in September when it's full foliage? Potentially, because I mean, the reality is if there's nothing above you that you can, if you can't see the sky above you, you can't see the deer below. You know what I mean?
Right.
But almost everywhere in North Carolina, there's some spacing to the point where you can see some portion of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the Dotson,
The one
we
you showed
found.
me, yeah.
I mean, that is absolute full foliage pines.
You can just got enough
4-pound
see 'em.
dog or 6-pound dog, however much it weighed. But I mean, it took me 10 minutes to find it. Like, so. People always ask about success rate. The success rate has factors. All right, that's just the reality. Is if in September they go down in the middle of a lake and they're submerged, I'm obviously never going to find them. You know what I mean?
Right.
If they're there, I feel extremely confident in it. If they're not there, I'll never know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's been tons of dogs I look for that I haven't found. It's not because I missed them. It's because they weren't there. You know what I mean? I can only fly so big an area. I mean,
Right.
2 hours, during September or October, early October, I'm able to fly in 2 hours, probably 300-400 acres, so maybe more. It just depends on how it's laid out. But, wintertime, I can cruise 600-700 acres in 2 hours. I think one of the last calls of the year, great deer, man, the guy shot it with a 301 Mac. And I looked for this deer for like 3.5 hours. Had nothing else to do. Like, I went out there twice. It was the first day the first week I flew my drone, the new one. I was flying at 53-mile-an-hour winds.
Whoa.
And I was like, dude, I got to land this thing. I'll come back later because we had a big like storm cell coming through. So I came back out that night. I think altogether we put in like 47 linear miles of flight for this deer. And like, we looked at everywhere, both sides of the road. Like, I don't know how many thousands of acres we covered, man, but he was just like, he's not there. Like, you have literally looked. I mean, we found deer laying under like fallen trees. Wasn't there. It wasn't him. It was a different deer. It was just the deer wasn't there. And if I'm flying, I feel confident. If I can find a bird on a tree or a bird on the ground or a squirrel running, like, I'm going to be able to find a 200-pound whitetail. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not saying it's easy,
Right.
but the reality is the technology's there. Like, if he's there, we're going to find him. But it's, again, it all depends on, every situation's a little different.
Right.
Sometimes they'll run further than others. I mean, like I said, the one thing is if you go multiple hundreds of yards, like, stop going, because he ain't dead.
Right.
He might die, but he's not dead right there in front of you.
How many hours can you fly with this thing without having to recharge it?
All right, so I have 4 sets of batteries. Each set of batteries are $600. So I can fly roughly 2 hours at night with it. So in 2 hours, again, I can
Do
probably
you
cover
fly
34
and then you
hours.
come back, change out, and then
So
change out?
those are hot swapped.
Gotcha.
Basically, it keeps running. It takes me like 10 seconds to swap a battery. So the way I do it is I try to give every customer a full 4 sets of batteries. Like, I show up with 100% charged batteries, and then, like, because if I don't find it in 2 hours, man, like, I'm probably not going to find it. You know what I mean? Because at that point, we've covered hundreds of acres.
Right. And how fast can you cover like 1 acre?
Oh, like, I don't really even have to fly. I don't even
Like,
have to move
because
the
the
drone.
why, and it's kind of stupid. I don't
you
really know.
You don't have to move the drone at all for an acre.
Right,
Like the
because
field
you
of
can
view-
see. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say the field of view.
Yeah.
What's like the radius of field of view on these things? Is it
Probably-
depending upon how high and low you are? Obviously.
Yeah, I fly as high as possible. Like
Right. Okay.
now, there's situations like if it's thick foliage or something like that, then I'll fly high and then I'll fly low, trying to look under. Because if I'm straight up looking down, like straight down on top of full foliage, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
you
see
need
it.
to be kind
So
of.
I've got to be at an
able to
angle.
see it.
Whereas leaves are starting to fall,
Yeah.
I'm up high. I can get a bigger field of view.
Sure.
And all you need is like the slightest glimpse. Because again, dude, like you can see a chipmunk on the ground. All you need is like 6 inches of a leg or something. So
That's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, that thing's technology's come a long ways, man.
yeah, for sure.
What do you think about what do you think about the drone issues up in Jersey and stuff that they were seeing? You think those are they did find out that it was someone from here, but you think that capabilities of other countries coming in here with these things, you think that's likely, or do you think that it's unlikely because of the distance? I mean, there's probably stuff we don't know, obviously, but you may know in that world.
I
But
mean,
what do you think?
I don't know. I kind of felt like those were like military drones, or like they didn't even look
were
like drones. They
big.
were giant, dude.
Yeah.
They were like small planes.
Right.
Like, I mean, like with these, like you're showing up on a radar system, so it's not like they're flying these over there. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Because it's got like I have like a remote ID number to the FAA and stuff tied to the drone.
So they can
itself.
see that
Yeah,
thing
so
going.
it's got a beacon. Like right here on top is just like a little flashing beacon, but it actually has like a radio ID number in it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's cool. Can you call into like the towers and things like that, like traffic control or
Most of it's kind of gone to like a instant. It's still an app. It's essentially like an instant approval system. So
you can gotcha.
you don't really have to call in at this point.
Right. Okay. So they've kind of already
Yeah,
identified you
yeah.
and they're like, okay,
Yeah, and it
this
just depends.
is your name, it's with your ID and tagged with your drone type of thing.
yeah.
Now when you get a new drone, do you have to like
You'll
send
have
that in
you'll
and
have
get
a
home?
new. So the ID is tied to the drone, so it's just like a car registration, just like a VIN number.
Gotcha.
Essentially.
Okay.
So
Do you have to pay like a fee year after year for them?
I think it's like $5. I can't remember. I don't remember how many years it's for.
God, that'd be
I'll have
nice
to
if I
look.
could get my truck for $5.
$5, right?
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh man,
it's-
that's pretty cool. Well, I'm really pumped for you, dude. I think I think you really have something going here, and I know you're just about to get as busy as can be. You know, I mean, it's technology, bro. Like if you're not, I know a lot of people that are like, I don't care about new technology. I'm like, well, if you don't get with the times, you're gonna be way behind, bro.
100%.
You know, it's like this is just the future, and what you have going on here. I mean, you're young. You know, you have a lot. I mean. Who knows what's going to happen from here forward?
Yep.
You know, because they didn't have stuff like,
Oh, we didn't
like
have
this
5 years ago.
No.
Yeah. I mean, now they've got they're drones that literally have like pressure washers and soft washers attached to them. that
Well,
you
they're
just fly
delivering
straight up.
food to people's
Yeah.
doorsteps. It's like DoorDash or something that has this going on where they're, And then there's like, we were watching on actually the first podcast we talked about, it was right when the drone stuff, or second podcast, I don't know. Anyways, it was right when the drones, we having that issue with the drones, we were talking about it. And then we flipped over to a video of the Christmas Carol, the Nutcracker show.
Yeah.
You seen
Yeah.
that thing?
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit, man. That's
Fireworks are a thing of the past.
that's what I said. I was like, I'm still, I still want to,
I mean, I
Some
like to blow
grit.
stuff up.
Right.
Don't get me wrong.
but this is way beyond, what, we kind of thought where we were going, but this is incredible, man. Like you really have a pretty cool thing going. And I just, I wish you the best of luck on everything. I'm going to be using you, dude. And I'm going to be spreading the love to everybody else,
Hopefully you won't need me.
I don't, the goal is to practice and get better, right? So hopefully I don't, but
Things happen though, man. Like
it's good to know that
shift
it's there
is-
though, and put kind of face to name too. It's like, because you're always kind of like hesitant calling and things like that, of you're like, man, I think I can find it type of thing, and it's like, kind of go let your ego go a little bit and be like, okay, cool. It does matter. I mean, because you can find for the listeners, if you go to his website, carolinacrosshairs.com, he's got pricing and stuff like that on there as well. You know, cost for certain things. I know it was, you know, talked about the like pets and things like that, and then like wild game and things like that you know, go and retrieve, and hourly rates and whatever. And really, I feel like the prices were pretty damn fair, dude.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously later in the year we're very close to like 95+%.
Yeah.
And so we charge kind of like a flat, like $350 inside our radius.
Yeah.
Earlier in the year, we know that there's challenges with foliage. So what we do is we drop that down $100, and we do essentially $250 to come out, and then $100 once we find it.
Which is
Just
more
just
than fair.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're going to be out there 2 hours. You know, at least 2 hours, depending on what time we look.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're covering a lot of ground in 2 hours. So I mean, again, my whole thing is like customer experience. Like,
Sure.
when I get there, I break out, you know, a flip TV that we saw at the Dixie Deer Classic. Like, that's what I use in the woods. Like,
That's cool.
self battery, you know, $1,500 TV. Like, I want the customer to see what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And I'm explaining to them that way. They're learning. You know what I mean? They're understanding the effort we're putting in. You know, I'm not just there to collect money. Like,
Right.
my goal is to find it in 5 minutes because it's flat. You know, it's flat rate. So I want to find it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because just like, you know, with the grinding stumps, man, time is money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I can be out of one in an hour, I can go to the next one and so forth. Like, but at the same point, I'm going to try to everything in my power to find that person's deer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because that's the meaning. That's the whole meaning behind it all.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You want to find this person's deer.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust me, I don't want to leave the house at 9 and waste somebody's time.
No, no.
And I've turned stuff away. Just, you know, they tell me like, you know, I don't have blood. I'm not sure if I hit it. And a lot of times I'll just be like, you know, I'll leave it up to you. I'm never going to try to like sell it. I mean, I feel like it kind of sells itself.
Right.
I'm just going to be transparent and honest with people.
Yeah.
That's how I would, you know, if I'm a customer, I want somebody to be transparent and honest with me.
Right.
And, you know, if they send me something and it's got white hair on it, I know, all right, they hit them low. Like, deer's probably okay. Like, I'll still come out if you want me to, but odds are, like, he's fine.
Yeah.
Especially if you're getting like 2 drops of blood and nothing else.
Right.
So,
yeah, you're gonna know.
yeah, I'm not gonna come out there and waste somebody's time if there's not a legitimate possibility that
Right.
did, so
Yeah. Well, man, listen, I appreciate you coming on here and talking to us about all this, and I'll have my guy edit in like your logo and stuff like that in the video so everyone can see you know where your social media is. Did you want to talk your social? Oh, there it is. Okay. I was gonna say I thought I saw it somewhere. So you're on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Are those great places to reach out to you, or do you have?
Facebook is by far like probably our number one thing. You know, we have a Google business profile, the website. You know, the biggest thing is like pick up the phone and call us. You know, there is a chat button on there and everything, but especially during the season, man, if I'm in the field, I'm not paying attention to if I'm getting emails. So definitely just pick up the phone and call us. You know, if it's, you know, super late and you want to text us first, you know, a lot of time during the season I'm up pretty late, but you know, feel free to text me and, you know, we'll try to get with you as quick as we can, obviously. You know, picking up the phone and calling is always probably the best option, but
Yeah.
So
Awesome, dude.
well, look, man, I appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And we look forward to, you know, maybe doing it again and seeing what you kind of have going on in the future. So
Sounds good, man. Appreciate it.
appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.